Okay. It's probably going to come as a surprise to no one that I'm talking about this. It might surprise some people that I'm talking about it so late. I needed some time to calm down, because if I had been speaking about this right as I was hearing about it, I would have lost my mind and just gone on a long rant and just been a 10-minute video of me screaming. So what's the difference? Shut up. Beamdog, the people who have been doing the Baldur's Gate Enhanced Editions, recently released an expansion pack for Baldur's Gate, a game that sort of bridged the gap between 1 and 2. Now, if you don't know this about me, Baldur's Gate is my favorite game series of all time. Period. I still have a classic CD version that was 4 CDs back in the day, by the way, of Baldur's Gate 2. I still have the 300-page book that was the instruction manual for it. Every couple of years, I go back and I'm just like, I feel like playing Baldur's Gate again. I think I will. And there goes 60 hours of my life again. I have played this game so often, I know almost every nook and cranny of it, and yet I still love going back to it because it was just that damn good. So, you would think that I would have been happy to hear that they were making new content for it. And for the enhanced editions, I was okay with that, because they weren't really adding anything majorly new. A new companion or two, and a small dialogue and quest chain with that, sure, that's fine. That's minor content. They were updating some old, really outdated UI. They were updating the graphics a little bit so that it could more fit in a modern window rather than the really shrunk down windows of the 90s and early 2000s. Yeah, I got nothing against that kind of stuff. I was one of the few people actually defending the enhanced editions, saying that they were just as fine as the regular editions. The improvements that they made to it were enough to justify the errors and the bugs that they created from the enhanced editions. And yes, I'm not going to deny there were new bugs and errors. I don't know how they did it. I guess it came from the backwards coding they had to do. They did go back and fix it. I'll give them credit for that. I still don't like that it actually had bugs in the first place, considering how incredibly polished the original games were. But that's beside the point. They did a decent job with the enhanced editions, and I said pretty much, and my opinion was that they did a good job, and I thought that they were getting a little too much flack for it, or that the complaints of, oh, there's not enough new stuff in it to justify the price. This game just justifies the price in and of itself. Let's be honest here. But then when they announced the new expansion, I was kind of nervous, because they do not do new content. They just did remastering of old content, and this is not the original crew that worked on the game, especially because it is not the original doctors. When they left BioWare, to me, that is when BioWare died. It has not been the same BioWare. And Beamdog, oh, it's run by one of the co-founders of BioWare. I had never heard of this guy before. I've never seen his name anywhere in anything BioWare related. And I understand why! So when they said that new content, completely original content was coming out, especially in a very, very big lore time period for the Baldur's Gate series, I got justifiably nervous. I didn't know how this was going to go, and I thought that this was too big a project for them to do. And it turned out so much worse than I ever could have imagined. I wanted to believe that this would have been mediocre. That's as bad as it would have gotten. It would have been okay. The story would have been meh, but at least the gameplay would have been alright. We didn't even get that. No, because that would have been too easy. What we got was a shitty, broken mess that read like a junior high level fan fiction that completely just destroys everything that the original games set. Because progress. And before we go into the actual length of my complaints about this, I don't give a fuck that there is a transsexual character. I don't give a fuck that there's a gay character or a bisexual character or whatever else is in there. I do not give a crap about that. They can be in there, they can not be in there. I don't care. That's not my complaint. The problem, and this is why there are other people that are complaining about this, is that the rest of the game is so shitty that any minor problem becomes magnified. That's why you don't hear complaints about Baldur's Gate 1 or 2, or some minor inconsistencies in those games. You never hear about those because those games were well written and ran like a dream. So any kind of minor complaint kind of just swept away. The better the overall game is, the less likely you're to notice any small faults. The worse a game is, the more glaring each and every little problem becomes. So no, I don't give a crap about whatever sexuality or whatever gender a character is. What I give a crap about is how horribly they were written into this. So let's start off there. The writing is atrocious. By God, this is some of the worst writing I've ever seen in any game, let alone a Baldur's Gate game that has incredibly high standards. What the fuck were you doing? This is not anywhere close to anything I would expect from a Baldur's Gate game. Not even in the ballpark. This is not even what I would expect from a cheap knockoff game. It's that bad. Did no one go through this and read the script and realize we done goofed? Anybody, just throw me a bone here. Tell me someone had some common sense and they left because of this. I didn't care about the characters. There's this one, the media keeps harping on that this was the problem. And people have pointed out that this existed. Just to point it out. A lot of people don't give a shit that it existed. But again, every little problem is magnified tenfold the worse your game is. There was a transsexual character in it. I don't give a fuck. This is what I cared about, and this is where I lost my mind, and I just went into a ballistic rage. You have Minsk, probably BioWare's most prolific character. A character that is so well known, not only in gaming, but in pop culture in general. I have friends that have never even played Baldur's Gate, and I can start quoting Minsk lines, and they will instantly recognize that. It's basically like the Monty Python effect. Even if you don't know it, you've heard it. They had Minsk and the original voice actor, Jim Cummings, in Minsk's voice, say lines like, "I kick bad butts and I cannot lie," and this one really gets me, really, it's all about ethics and heroic adventuring. You memed Minsk. You turned Minsk into a meme. Really. Are you proud of yourself, Beamdog? Was it worth it? Was it worth spitting in the face of pretty much every fan of the series to do that. I want to know, was it worth it? The CEO of Beamdog, who again was a BioWare co-founder, I want to see credentials. I need to see them now, because I ain't buying that shit. Only in the past few years have I seen his name been inserted in. I never heard of him before this. And again, I think I know why. He said in an interview, we also have a character. He made sure not to say it was Minsk, but a character who cracks a joke about ethics. The original Baldur's Gate had a whole sequence about the Bob Newhart show. I want to emphasize that part. A whole sequence. What that sequence was 3 characters, 3 NPCs, hidden away in a little part of a zone. Very easily missed, by the way. To the point of, you could probably tell this to most Baldur's Gate fans, and they wouldn't know that this even existed. They were named after characters who were in a sketch of the Bob Newhart show. And they said a line or two of dialogue from that sketch. Random NPCs that do nothing, that are just there as an Easter egg reference. That is the sequence in question. Random NPCs that you only really interact with once, that are there as an Easter egg. Minsk saying of the day memes. One of these things is not like the other. One of these things doesn't belong. Guess which? The idea that these two are comparable explains the shitty writing. If you can't tell the difference between these two massively different things, then yeah, I understand why your writing was crap. The main writer, name of Amber Scott, in an interview said, if there was something for the original Baldur's Gate that just didn't mesh for modern day gamers, like the sexism, we tried to address that. In the original, there's a lot of jokes at women's expense. Or if not a lot, there's a couple. Let me stop you for a second, because you just contradicted yourself. There's a lot of them. If not a lot, there's some. Please make up your mind. First of all. Secondly, this was a prepared statement interview, so I can kind of see why you're not so good a writer. If this is how you prepare things, when you have a lot of time to write them up, yeah, this is really adding up fast. Like Safana, who was just a sex object in Baldur's Gate 1. Now, let me again stop that. Safana was a chaotic neutral thief. She also had some, I believe it was tied for the highest charisma of any NPC that could join your party. This was a character who was very smart, very crafty, and knew how to get what she wanted, and no matter how she had to do it. And the high charisma, yeah, she manipulated people through her good looks and charms. That's part of the character. That's not a sex object. And this is the part that shows just what we're dealing with here. and Jahira, who was a nagging wife that was played for comedy. Jahira was a nagging wife. I have never in my life heard anyone anywhere say that. Jahira has either been disliked by people just because they just didn't like her, or she has been a crowd favorite because she was a very strong and independent character. She was a good moral compass. She was a voice of wisdom. I have never heard of her referred to as a nagging wife. Not once. This is quite literally the first time I've seen anything close to this. This shows me you know nothing about the game. You never played it. To this day, you probably never played it. You just assume things about it. And this is the person who was the main writer for this expansion. The pieces are coming into place, aren't they? So, as the days rolled out, after these interviews were given, oh, and by the way, she also, in this interview, said, if you don't like it, if people don't like it, then too bad. In response to the idea that people might be upset with how they're changing characters, established characters, too bad. Oh yeah, that's going to win people over. So then, as the days went on and people were finding these things, like the memeing of Minsk, they got angry and said, why did you do this? Not to mention the bugs. All the bugs. Bugs everywhere. Here's a bug, there a bug. This game, especially in multiplayer, wouldn't run. Multiplayer, I think even right now, it does not work. Period. It will not work. Single player, yeah, but it's a buggy mess at best. So people, between all these facets, got angry. And they said, why'd you do this? They brought out complaints from everything. From the random insert kobold that complained about racism. Yeah, that's a thing, I'm not joking. To the characters, their personalities were just completely shifted. To the bugs. To the multiplayer not working. They complained about everything. And what Beamdog seemed to focus on was, you hate transsexual people! No. We're complaining about a lot of things. That was just one of the side things that was in the bad writing category. And that's what they stuck with. And that's what the media stuck with. That, oh, it's hatred against transsexual people. And I love when companies use that kind of stuff as a shield. Let me tell you this, Beamdog. It didn't work with Fantastic Four. It's not going to work with Ghostbusters, and it's not going to work here. Your product is shit. Your writing is crap. People know this. No matter what you say to try and justify, oh, it's only because of we tried to put in a character, a transsexual character that people didn't like, and oh, we're getting bullied because of that. You can try that all you want. It's not going to fly. You cannot guilt people into liking your thing because diversity. I said this before in another rant about the Ghostbusters trailer, and I'll say it here. If this is your main sticking point, and this was actually, this writer did give an interview where this was her main sticking point, I will force diversity in. Then that's a warning sign, and it usually leads to shit. Wow. my shit radar is really hitting a home run today. They went to their forums to ask people to post good reviews. They worded it not in a go out and review this now kind of way. They did it a bit more slyly. I'll give them credit for that. They aren't specifically saying go review this now, go review this now. They started off by saying, oh, we're being brigaded by negative reviews from people that are offended by our transsexual character and our diversity. Because you gotta rake people in with the false outrage. And then they end it something along the line of, if you like this game and if you've appreciated all of the work that we did to bring about a diverse cast, please take a few minutes out of your time to maybe write a positive review telling us about your experiences. And I'm actually even giving them more credit than that because they weren't even that nice. It wasn't even, if you liked the game, go and give it a positive review. It was just, if you played it, go give it a positive review. On principle alone, that would be the point that would make me never buy this. There was another game a while ago that I will not mention that had a negative review on it. That review was from a person who had played it for 60 hours before its release. And this is why I don't like Steam reviews in a way, because there's only a yes or a no. There is no in between. There is no there is no way of just saying, well, I like this part of it, but I didn't like this part of it, so it's actually kind of a neutral thing. It's only yes or no. And that's the problem with those. And in that review, he said, it's a great game. It gets boring after a while. After you've played through once, there is no replayability, and the first playthrough is kind of short. I didn't like it, and I tried to play through each thing to see if it was different, and it just got boring. And based on that review, just based on that review, I would have bought the game because it was exactly what I was looking for. It reminded me of another game that I have played a good 60, 80 hours of, and I loved that game because it was the kind of game that a guy like me likes. The developer of that game on the Steam forums asked that people downvote that review. On that alone, I would never buy that game because they did that. They, as a developer, should know better. That you do not use your influence as the developer to try and manipulate positive, negative, any kind of reviews in any way. You don't like a negative review? Tough shit, it's going to happen. Accept it, move on. Maybe address the review in a comment by saying something, and that's it. Don't actually go in and say, oh, hey guys, could you do me a favor and downvote this? What Beamdog did was even worse. They were asking people for positive reviews. This is a very gray area with Steam. They weren't giving out anything for the positive reviews, so that was within the rules, but they were still asking people to give positive reviews. So I don't know if that's technically within Steam's rules or not. What I do know, however, is that that alone would make me never buy this game. Ever. And a lot of these positive reviews I have seen have basically been, oh yeah, it's a buggy mess and it doesn't run very well right now, but I'm sure they'll fix it later. Thumbs up. Yeah, I'm pretty sure I know why you're reviewing that. Beamdog, is run by people that have been in this industry for 20 odd years. They aren't some small indie group that just started a couple years ago. They, more than most, definitely should know better than to do stuff like this. But for whatever reason, they're trying to mobilize whatever fan base they have left. It's going to be small at this point, I can guarantee that, into manipulating the positive to negative reviews on Steam. They're hiding behind, oh, people are angry that we have transsexual character, rather than actually addressing any of the issues, like the massive number of bugs and the complete inability of multiplayer to work. They have screwed every single part of this game to high hell and back again. And these are the people that will one day be making Baldur's Gate 3. Fuck you. There is no chance in hell I will ever buy that. No chance. Not unless some other company that is in no way associated with you makes it. If I see Beamdog's name anywhere on a Baldur's Gate product that is not just the enhanced editions, I will still give them credit for the enhanced editions, as much as I dislike doing that right now. I will not buy it. I will not pay for it. There is no way on earth I will ever accept them. I will ever play them. They have royally screwed everyone that was wanting this to be good over, and they're hiding behind some kind of shield that they can make up to get the media's favor to defend them. With that said, I'm going to leave on sort of a funny note. A friend of mine has created sort of a new term, and I will have that and several of these interviews linked in the description so that you know I'm not BSing. The term was derived from an actual word, Bowdlerize, which means to change a book, play, movie, etc. by removing parts that could offend people. The could offend is really heavy emphasis here. With that said, he created this term Baldurize to change a comic book, cartoon, movie, video game, etc. by removing or altering parts that could offend people, or through the contrived use of ideologically motivated or politically correct elements. Never has a term been so appropriate, and I will be using this for every movie, comic, game, cartoon, etc. that I see from this point on. Ghostbusters, I'm looking at you. This has been Math Machine being really, really pissed that Minsk has been tainted in my eyes now. Peace out.